Of course, there are deeper things in our society we've got to get right. We've got to look at the level of family breakdown. We've got to look at the lack of discipline in schools. We've got to look at the fact that too many dads aren't there for their children. All of those things, yes, let's look at them, but let's not excuse what happened.
Well, nobody's excusing what happened. But one of those youngsters caught up in the riots said, well, hang on. Look at what we're looking out onto. He said, look at the bankers. He said, there they are, lining their pockets, as he said, ruining this country where other people have to pay, looting the economy, if you like. We see MPs, lots of MPs, on the make as well from their expenses, who are then allowed to pay it back. And then he said, we take what we want and look what happens to us, and look at people lecturing us, they said, about morality.
People who cheat in banking and who break an economy, they should be punished. MPs who cheat on their expenses should be punished. And there are MPs in prison today, and quite rightly so too.
The example isn't being set from the top.
Look, we need responsibility right through our country. Responsibility is the most important word in politics, but it can't be used as an excuse. That was law breaking, that was looting, that was thieving. It's no good trying to blame that on someone else. All irresponsibility should be punished. There are MPs in prison, and a damn good thing too, excuse my language.
But most of them were allowed to pay back what they had taken wrongly, whereas
those
these
that broke
people
the law
are being thrown into jail for what they did.
Those MPs that broke the law were prosecuted and were sent to prison. These people, in terms of the looting, the pillaging, the violence that we saw, that was common or garden law breaking. Law breaking has to be punished. And I think one of the heartening things we're seeing now is because the courts have been sitting around the clock, we're actually seeing a much tighter timetable between getting your collar felt by a police officer, going to a police cell, appearing in front of a court, and then being sent to prison. And I hope one of the learnings of the last few days is if we can have that sort of speedy justice, as it were, at this time, why can't we have speedy justice all of the time?
Well, is it going to help when the leaders on this programme of the last couple of days, the leaders of Manchester City Council and Salford City Council say, look, if you are caught being involved in any way in this rioting and in this looting, any single member of your family, we will throw you out of your council houses.
Well, I think that is helpful, frankly, because we've got to find ways of enforcing responsibility in our society. Now, look, if you live in a council house, you're getting a house at a discount from what other people have to pay, and so with that should come some responsibilities. And if you're responsible...
Is that thought through? What
yes,
happens
well,
then? I mean, when they leave their houses, when they're thrown out, then what happens to them? Because they mightn't be able to afford other sort of housing.
Well,
they might
frankly, they should have thought about that before they turned on their own community and looted
but they
a
are
shop.
Still suddenly left high and dry. Isn't it better to include people in society than exclude them further?
I think for too long we've taken a too soft attitude towards people that loot and pillage their own community. If you do that, you should lose your right to the sort of housing that you've had at a subsidised rate. Now, obviously, that will mean they've got to be housed somewhere else and they'll have to find housing in the private sector. That will be tougher for them, but they should have thought about that before they started burgling. The other point I'd make is this, and I was in Salford with Hazel Blears earlier, in some cases it may actually help break up some of the criminal networks on some housing estates if some of these people are thrown out of their houses, and I think quite right too.